Hey guys, and welcome to the 2019 Audi A6 Avant 45 TDI Quattro. I've had this car now for 8 days. This is day 8, the day I'm delivering this car back to Audi Norway. I've done 1,630 kilometers, more than 1,000 miles. I've been from Oslo to Bergen and back to Oslo, crossing the mountain pass between western and eastern Norway, the Scandinavian Alps, 4,000 feet elevation, minus 21 degrees Celsius at the coldest, snowy weather, dry weather. I've driven this car, under so many different conditions, and in today's video, I'm going to give you guys my verdict, my review, and at the end of the video, tell you guys if you should buy this car or if you should buy a BMW 5 Series, a Volvo V90, or maybe a Mercedes E-Class. This Monday morning here in Eastern Norway, it is cold as a mofo, minus 15 degrees Celsius, and we have a lot of snow, meaning we've really gotten to test this Quattro all-wheel drive system. So this is an Audi A6 Avant, Avant meaning station wagon in Audi lingo, 45 meaning 3-liter V6 diesel, 231 horsepower, and Quattro meaning all-wheel drive. I don't know why they do everything in code in Audi, and with their new, their new engine displacement, their engine output numbers, or what you want to call it. It is really confusing. 45 meaning this 3-liter diesel, 231 horsepower, 50 meaning 3-liter diesel, 286 horsepower, is all just a bit confusing. But I've had this car for 8 days, as I've said, done almost or more than 1,000 miles, and fuel consumption at this point has been 6.4 liters per 100 kilometers, and that is about 38 miles to the gallon, which is very, very impressive. And here on the motorway, well, this car isn't as quiet as the Q8 I drove last year. I am a bit disappointed because I had really high hopes for this car and its quietness. It's not built on the same platform, but it has all of the new tech, the touch MMI interface, their new design language, exterior and interior. So I was expecting it to be very similar, but it is a very different vehicle. But here at the motorway, 130 kilometers an hour, it is relatively quiet. I don't have to raise my voice much, though I think the 5 Series BMW is a tad quieter, even though this has the laminated double pane glass. But that does mean we have, very little wind noise off the wing mirrors. And just in general, it is a quiet place to be, but I don't think it is any quieter than the Volvo V90, so it's not quite as in class. The Q8 being a lot quieter than my XC90, I was expecting this to be the quietest in this class, but it is not. But on the motorway is where this car really excels, because it's a very comfortable cruiser, and now using the active lane keep assist, it is very nice. I can move my hands from the steering wheel, though for not long it will ask me to put my hands back on the steering wheel, but it works very well, this this semi-autonomous driving mode, though it doesn't let you drive for as long as of time without your hands on the steering wheel as other manufacturers. It is very nice and very relaxing to have here on the motorway. Røde got a cruise control, and yeah, this 3-liter diesel, which is is a freight train. 231 horsepower isn't the most power output in 2019. 10 years ago that would be a quite powerful engine, but in 2019 is not the most powerful, but it does have really nice punch and passing power, and it's just really torquey, very effortless, a strong engine in general. So on the motorway, this engine fits this car very well, and this having the S-Line sports suspension, it sits low, it sits just very stable on the road. But that S-Line sports suspension also has a downside, and I'll talk about that when we get in Oslo when we arrive in Oslo and drive on some broken pavement and some bad roads. One of my absolute favorite things about this car is its tech-laden interior. And when you talk about the tech, you have to talk about the interior in general, because you know, the tech just overwhelms this interior, because you have this triple screen setup. You have the virtual cockpit in front of the driver, and then you have this huge screen here for your infotainment, and then you have a large screen down here for your climate control and stuff like that. The whole interior is almost just one, you know, a combination of giant screens. But otherwise, the interior is very nice. It's very high quality. Materials are very nice. I really do like the design of it. It's very Bauhaus. I think Audi, with this interior language, has, you know, moved even more away from the competition from BMW and Mercedes, and are now really doing their own thing. It's very impressive, though in some color combinations it can become a bit sterile, a bit cold, a bit too clinical. I like it a lot. It's very Bauhaus. It's almost Scandinavian in its cleanliness and its simplicity. But that's where you have these screens also, and I have a whole separate, you know, video, a tour of the infotainment system of this car, so please check the link up there in the right corner. I'm not going to go too much in detail, but you have amazing 360 camera, you have this amazing resolution, and at first I missed our, you know, our MMI scroll wheel from our Audi A4, where everything was done, you know, via the scroll wheel and push and turn and click. But this is very easy to use. Once you get used to it, it's very simple, and I prefer this actually after using it for more than a week. So this interior is very impressive. 1 hour later, guys, and you join me here in Oslo, and I want to talk a bit about the things I don't like about this car. And there are a few things about this particular car that is a real deal breaker. So first off, the steering. This car has 4-wheel steer adaptive steering, which in the Audi Q8 I drove last time was brilliant, and mostly it is brilliant here. So let's just take a right here, and yeah, barely any lock to get the wheels turning. I mean, from lock to lock, this is like 2.5 turns, and through this tight space here, this tight street with cars on both sides, it is really easy to maneuver this car with this 4-wheel steer, because the turning circle is, yeah, very small. So just do a 3-point turn here, very easy, very quickly, and yeah, barely any lock, very simple. But one thing more positive about the steering is that it's really nicely weighted. So the feel, it feels very natural. But that is artificial feel, because when we drove this, well, over the mountains yesterday and last week to Bergen, it is slippery. We have snow, and you'll have slip, right? So what you're used to is that you turn the wheel, and then when it is icy or slippery, you can feel the steering lighten because you're losing grip. But none of that here. And let's just stop for that bus. The steering doesn't even lighten, so there's no feel. So if you're driving on asphalt with, you know, 100% grip on dry surface, you have the same amount of effort than on ice, which just gives you no feeling of the surface at all. I mean, nothing. This is the worst feeling steering I've felt in a long time, much worse than on our Audi A4 actually. And also, since it is adaptive, when you're driving slow like this, you have a lot of, or fast, and not turning much, you have a lot of wheel movement compared to how much the wheels are actually turning to make the car stable at high speeds. Perfectly understandable. And then when you turn it a lot, you have a lot of things happening. But that means it's on you know, slippery roads at higher speeds, the steering is very hard to modulate, because you can go into a turning, it's easy to, you know, give it too much lock or too little lock, is just hard to modulate sometimes. So that is the steering. Not my favorite thing. I would opt for just normal steering on this car. Or if you don't drive this car on any slippery conditions, you might not notice it at all, and you'll love the steering. Second is this transmission. So 8-speed Aisin transmission, the same you'll find in the BMW 5 Series. And in the BMW 5 Series, I was really praising the transmission for being so precise, so quick to shift, and so quick to react. This has a completely different programming. So ZF deliver these transmissions to the manufacturers with a basic programming, and it's up to the manufacturers to tune them. This tuning is not one of the best. This is actually a very slow transmission, and Volvo have been criticized by a lot of people in the past few years that, you know, a lot of the things are great about their drivetrain, but their transmissions are slow. This is even slower. It's worse when going from drive to park. It's just so slow. It's like a second or 2 seconds delay. I mean, going from drive to reverse or reverse to drive, which is when you really want your transmission to respond quickly. Off the line, it's slow. Between shifts, it's slow. Kick down, it's slow. Yes, you can kick it back into sport mode, and it is quicker. But then it hangs revs too much. So there's nice, but then it's just hanging the revs too much. So I wish they would have, you know, made it as responsive, you know, off the line, shifting and throttle response as in sport mode, but just then again, when you get going, just upshift quickly as possible, like BMW do it. BMW have the best transmission tuning in the business. So, but it's totally something I can live with, and you can, well, you can put it into sport mode to make it quicker, right? But the absolute worst thing about this car, and that is this car in particular, this car is equipped with the S-Line sport suspension, fixed dampers, and fixed springs. Who the hell in their right mind would spec this car with sport suspension? This is a large luxury station wagon. This is not a sports car. And the week we had this car in Bergen was just unbearable. This was the first time I was having a press car where I was thinking to myself, I can't wait to get my car back, because the suspension in this thing is just so hard. Just so hard, and then it's low, so it's easy to, when the road is uneven, you actually hit, you bottom out, right? Because there isn't a lot of ground clearance, which is just stupid in a car like this. So just completely opposite of how I would spec it. I would probably go for the all-road version when available, but I would get it with adaptive air suspension, the comfort air suspension, not the sports air suspension, and most definitely not this sports fixed suspension. I'm now outside of Audi here in Norway to deliver back this Audi A6 after 8 days and 1,700 kilometers. It's mostly been a very nice experience, and for the most part I really do like this car. I like its exterior styling. I really love the interior. I love the tech, the virtual cockpit, the touch MMI infotainment system. I love, you know, the quietness, the refinement, this 3-liter diesel. But there are a few things that I really don't like. Those amongst the steering, which you can option away. The transmission, which, well, you can make better by going to sport mode. But mostly it's this suspension, which has almost ruined the experience I had with this car. I will have to test this car with, you know, the adaptive air suspension, and then set it to comfort mode to really see if it is as nicely riding as the Volvo V90 or the BMW 5 Series or even the Mercedes-Benz E-Class. But it is a brilliant car, and I'd most definitely recommend you guys to test it out, especially if you're looking for a car with 4-wheel drive, because, you know, the handling and the Quattro all-wheel drive here are just brilliant. It has so much grip and it's so confidence inspiring. So guys, I really hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please drop me a thumbs up down below, and for more car content, as always guys, please subscribe. See you guys later, and goodbye.